Hello and welcome to the Corgi Town USA podcast. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Normally, we have Kat Cohen, executive producer. She had a scheduling conflict tonight, so she's not with us tonight. But we still have Chuckles here, and he is the spokescourt of Corgi Town USA, and I'm Candy. He is also the president of the Corgi Committee, and somewhere running around here we have Digby. I'm sure you will hear him sooner or later. He is the chair of the Corgi Committee, so we're still here tonight, and we have a special guest this episode. Her name is Emily Orth, so we're going to bring her on shortly. But she runs the Adopt a Corgi Facebook page. And here at Corgi Town USA, we're very pro rescue. And I have had 6 corgis. 4 of the 6 have been rescues. And I love to tell this story. When Lilo, my first corgi, he passed away 2 years ago. He was 15. We had a wonderful life together. When he was about 4 years old, I decided that I wanted to get him a friend. So I started looking at rescue groups and I found this little corgi named Winston. And he was so cute, and I just knew he would be a great addition. But this other family got him before we did. And so I just kept looking after that. And my aunt, I have a family member who lives in a different state, and she has a friend that fosters and rescues dogs. And she found this little corgi in Arkansas. And she said, "Do you want this little corgi?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I would love to have her." So her name was Zelda, and my aunt drove out to her and picked her up. It was a little bit of not an ideal situation, as many rescues that happens. But she picked her up, and we kind of got her healthy and put her on a plane and flew her out to me. And that was my dear Zelda. And she crossed the bridge in 2015. In 2014, I decided I wanted another one. I had 2 and I wanted one more. So I started looking, and it was actually Queen's Best Stumpy Dog Rescue out of Southern California had ended up posting about a Craigslist post, which is kind of scary. Dogs, a lot of time, they'll wind up being bait dogs. Scary things can happen when they wind up on Craigslist. The gentleman that had him didn't know. This dog was not a Queen's Best dog, but they did happen to post on their page that there was a Craigslist post, and the guy was in Arizona, and I'm in Phoenix, and he was in Quartzsite. And I don't know what happened in the gentleman's life. He used to have a home and a yard, but he actually lived in a van. And there is this whole subculture of people that go from swap meet town to swap meet town, and they barter and trade, and then they kind of move on. It's like a gypsy lifestyle. But he had this little corgi, and I drove out to Quartzsite. My friend drove. He set his car up for me and had it very comfortable in the back so that I could bond with him on the way home. And I was so nervous. I didn't know what kind of condition that he would be in. But I remember we turned the corner. We met him in a McDonald's parking lot, and we turned the corner, and I just started bawling. I just started crying. I said, "Oh my gosh, he's beautiful." So his name's Hammer, and he was standing there with his chest proud, and he was just this gorgeous, beautiful creature. And I am so glad that I got him. He's absolutely amazing. He's 10 now. And in 2015, when I lost Zelda, I really missed having a little girl around. At this time, I had Hammer and Lilo, and my aunt said, "Don't worry, we're going to find you another little girl." And so this time she found Booger in Texas, and she drove out, picked her up, put her on a plane, and flew her out to me. So I got her the same way that I had Zelda. So I've rescued a few in my day. And then just this past summer, I found Digby. Digby found me, this wonderful family. They couldn't keep him. They had some medical issues and things, and just unfortunately couldn't keep him. So he came to us, and he had a great time. And then he met our executive producer, Kat, and now he lives with Kat. So he's with us all the time. He's still a member of the Corgi Committee, and he's usually on the podcasts. So that being said, I love rescue. I'm very pro rescue. I want to save them all. And so I'm very excited to have our special guest today, and I'm going to bring her on. Her name is Emily Worth. Welcome, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So we both have corgis here, so I know we'll probably have some borks here and there. So I think anybody who listens and watches us are used to that. So we're just not going to worry about it. But tell us about Adopt a Corgi. So for those listening, for those watching, Emily Orth runs the Adopt a Corgi Facebook page. So Emily, please tell us how that got started and why. Where did you get this idea?
So February actually marks our 1 year anniversary. So I just want to go ahead and start off by saying that we're officially a
Happy
year old.
anniversary
Yes.
to Adopt a Corgi.
Really excited about it. I never imagined we would have, been a year long and still growing. So how it started and why. I started Adopt a Corgi shortly after I adopted my female Pembroke through rehoming on Craigslist again. And
By
as
Cameron.
you as you had stated, I want to go ahead and just take a quick moment and plug to that Craigslist. It can be a very unsafe place. There are some bad people out there, as you stated before, especially in my area alone. We have a lot of Amish. Sadly, we do have some puppy mill shoppers out there too, looking to just create breeding opportunities. So anytime I see a Craigslist opportunity, I kind of get a little uncertain and I want to act on it quickly. So that kind of brings the birth of Adopt a Corgi. While I was looking for my girl, as you imagine, or as you had talked about, kind of just wanting a rescue, wanting an opportunity where you can help a corgi that needs a second chance, right? Instead of just buying a puppy. So I just took a moment and I wanted to create a place, where there can be exposure for these types of opportunities. It occurred to me how useful a platform to provide exposure for adoption, rescue, rehoming. I get so excited when I talk about this.
You want to put all the words out there all at once. Me too.
Right. And I'm just like, I can't even get it all out. I'm just so excited. I want to tell everyone about it. The goal was to create a safe place for these people who are maybe looking to rehome for whatever reason it might be. Doesn't matter. We don't want judgment. We want them to feel safe. And then
because that is a very hard decision.
Amen. And I guess if I could just go up on a soapbox real quick, that is what I see the most is this page, this process, this Adopt a Corgi, this year-long stint has really taught me to not judge. You know what I mean? Like life can be cruel. And, who are we to judge and assume? So the one thing I've learned from this whole process is that let's reserve judgment and let's focus on getting the dog a wonderful home. You know what
We've
I mean?
learned that from our corgis, right? Perspective, right? Compassion, empathy. Yeah.
Yes. Like, let's not judge a book by a cover. And I know as humans, it might be hard, right? Because it's just an initial reaction, but this really taught me something. So a safe place, that was one of my goals. And I'd also heard folks saying in corgi groups, throughout, Facebook, whatever, that corgis weren't in rescue or, there weren't any opportunities for that. And I was like, oh, no. And so I wanted to really create an opportunity to show folks that there are these opportunities. You talked about Queen's Best, places like that needed more of a showcasing event. They had their Facebook pages already, but to kind of extend that nationwide. And so that was kind of how it was started and why is just really a safe place, a platform for folks to look for rehoming, look for rescue, look for adoption.
Our executive producer, she couldn't be here tonight, but she is popping out. So I may have her stick her head in front of the camera just to wave at everybody who's viewing, so that we can say that anyone who's just tuning in and don't normally subscribe to the podcast will know she's a real person and not a phantom. Do you want to stick your head in front of the camera and just wave? Say, hi, Emily. Thank you.
Hi, Emily. Hello.
Thanks,
Thank
Kat.
you.
Okay. Okay. I'll get him. I'll make sure that I take care of Digby. Okay, please continue, Emily. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. That was all for question number 1. I basically I wanted to create an opportunity for folks to feel safe and adopt corgi and really take the Craigslist as being the opportune place to post rehomings. I wanted to just get rid of that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Trying.
Yeah, it's scary. It's, and you are doing great work, and we're of course we love Queen's Best, and here in Phoenix, we're in Phoenix here at Corgi Town USA, and we have Arizona Cactus Corgi Rescue. So that's the one that we like to support as well. And obviously I've rescued corgis from all different states. So as you know, you're doing very important work. So, and then as I understand, you have your Facebook page that you've started. You have over 12,000. Is that right?
Yes, we crossed that threshold. I'm sure we're nearing 13,000 now. I really haven't checked since we hit that milestone. It was huge.
I love that there are that many people willing to rescue.
Yes. And, I just want to say too quick that another very, very popular Facebook group, Corgi Coalition Transport Team,
Yes.
kind of is no longer, right? And I don't really know a whole lot about what happened. And
I think it got a lot to manage. It
and
became a
it's
lot
just,
to manage. Yeah.
it's so, and it is. And I will say, and I'll get into that next about my group. So what I want to say is that with that group kind of going down too, I have felt like a sense of urgency to really just like go bigger, go stronger, go wider, so that we can, keep Craigslist and those types of opportunities from being sought after.
Well, thank you. So what does that look like,
So
managing all this?
we have 4 volunteers. My group consists of 4 volunteers. Myself, I want to go ahead and just plug some names. Brianne Burnett, Jerry Lee Zavala, and Jasmine Werner. Those are my gals. I couldn't do it without them. Like you had just stated, it became a lot.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes. Thank you so much. Like huge shout out. You talked about the other group becoming too much to manage. And I will just tell you, there are days where it's so hard. We field anywhere from 100 to 200 requests a day from people trying to join. And you must, answer all those questions. So it really just becomes a lot of, anticipating that. We do vet people. So if someone wants to make a post in our group, there is a vetting process that we go through, making sure that this person isn't a scammer. They have the best intentions out. They're not a flipper. Various things, that we have to really check off ourselves to protect our members, because that's first and foremost is, again, a safe place, right? So we're volunteers. We're not paid. Same thing with you guys. And we monitor.
So please be kind on the Facebook page. These people are donating their very valuable time, and definitely there's an emotional process to things like rescues.
I don't even have that on my notes here, but I just want to say thank you for saying that. And my volunteer gals would probably kind of kick me and say, why didn't you say that? It's huge. And, it really has given me a thick skin. And I've had people kind of get sassy with me and have to defend people. And, I'm glad you said that. It's hard, and just be nice. Everybody play nice in the sandbox.
Well, and with 2020 being such a strange year, and then some of this bleeding into 2021, I think everybody feels a little squeezed, and we're all a little bit disconnected. And the whole thing with the internet is that it's not always a kind place, because it gives that sort of anonymity that allows people to let their not so best selves show, and then they can kind of hide behind that. And so I think everybody, I don't know, I feel like collectively I speak for humanity when we've all lost our minds just a little bit in everything that's happened within the last 12 plus months. And so I think sometimes it's just that perspective. Even otherwise nice and kind people sometimes just don't realize they don't have that filter that, oh, maybe I should apply some perspective. We don't know what the other side of that looks like. But yes,
I love how you stated that. Seriously. And that, like, honestly, like you said it well better or way better than I could. Thank you. It's hard. And, kind of just what we do, right? So all 4 of us, we monitor hundreds of rescues nationwide. If we see a Corgi or a Corgi mix, we post it. It's as simple as that. We have alerts, email notifications set up. So say, for example, a shelter posts one available, we'll get an email notification, post it right away. We'll share the link, all information, and pretty much then it's just there for you to view, right? So what I want to say about the alerts is I've had a lot of folks think that it was like specific, something that they couldn't do. Anyone can set up these alerts. There's various websites, Adopt a Pet, Pet Finder, Pet Tango. I've Googled and, just said rescue corgis, and you can set up alerts with various opportunities across the board. And I find that to be so helpful. Yesterday, there was 13 alone that came in. Wow. So,
and you have different regions too. I know that many of the rescue groups that are breed specific tend to be in different states. You'll have a different authority.
Yes. And different time zones too, right? So my gals, we're kind of spread out. I have Pacific Northwest, a gal up there. And then one of my other gals is in Iowa. So we do have kind of a nice grab too. And we don't double up. So if someone's already covering an alert for a various rescue, we kind of leave that alert there. And then I have alerts from my area. So it just seems like it kind of just, it's this machine that just moves so great and smoothly. And I'm just so thankful for all my volunteer help.
Yeah, well, and thank you for masterminding it. I mean, that takes a lot of organizational skills
Yes.
and patience and a little bit of just resolve to do that, because that takes a lot, so much work. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you manage, but thank you
You
for
know,
giving us that insight.
it's with the help of my gals. My fellow admin, Brianne, she created on our page. So we'll talk about how to navigate to the page. But once you're
Yeah.
there, there's these things called announcements. There are so many tools and resources there about various questions on the process of rehoming, adopting. It's really nice where you're like, how do I do this? You can just go there and kind of search and see what you can pull to help yourself. I think that's a really nice opportunity that she created for our folks.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I'm so impressed by all this, and I'm also very excited because, as you know, I like to participate. I like to share when I find them
Yes.
locally.
I love you
I
do that.
I like to tag people that, because of course, being
Mhm.
Corgi Town, we get people that approach us and we love being the authority. Please do, if you are looking to rescue, or even puppies. I mean, we're very pro
Mhm.
rescue. If you can, please rescue. But I also understand that sometimes you can't
You
always.
can't.
And
Yep.
so when you do get, and I've had 6, I've rescued 4, but 2 were actually purchased
Yep.
from reputable breeders. So we have a whole segment on the show where we talk about that. We are not loyal to any one breeder, but we try to explain, sorry, chuckles. We try to explain what makes a good breeder and what you should look for if you do end up purchasing a puppy otherwise. And so we love being, I take a long road to simple thought there, but we love being the authority on, please do reach out to us if you are curious as to where to adopt. And Emily has a wonderful page that we're going to direct you to as well. Or if you have questions of just, I want a corgi, where do I start? We love being your resource there, because we can direct you accordingly. And so can Emily, it sounds like.
Yes.
So tell us about the tips. Tell us about the tips about using the page, about the
So
adopt code.
navigation, searching us on Facebook, pretty much just search the title, Adopt a Corgi. It's going to pop up, pretty generic logo silhouette on the side, and it'll say the words Adopt a Corgi. When you join our group, we have a series of questions. You must answer all questions to be accepted into our group. The reason we do this is because our group is growing at such a vast rate that we really need to itemize what you're looking for here. Sometimes folks will come to my group for the wrong reasons, right? So we really just want to understand that we're intercepting people who are here for the right reasons. They're going to interact in the right way and really just keep the process moving, right? So once you have answered all those questions, we'll then approve or deny your request. And first thing out of the gates is we do not allow in search of posts, no ISO. This is really a you help yourself type place. And what I found is a lot of folks, they don't want to put in the effort, and I say that with the best heart. When you're in this process and using our page, the best way to go about it is, if you want to be looking for your state specific, in the top right hand corner of our page, there's going to be a little magnifying glass. You can then type in your state abbreviation. It is a requirement. Each post that we have has the state, the sex orientation of the dog, and a photo. So once you type in your state abbreviation, all of the posts in your local state area are going to come up. All of our posts are updated when they are no longer available. If they've been adopted, we will state that in our posts. So what I invite folks to do is read all information accessible to you before you ask questions. I see a lot of folks will comment on a thread and say, are they available? The best solution I can give to you is click on the link immediately. It will tell you if they are available or not. If there's nothing, that says they're not, then they are. And then what becomes your next steps are filling out an application that is available in the form of a link, reaching out to the rescue. being proactive in this process is so important. A lot of folks, what I'm finding throughout the pandemic, it's really lost its personal touch. Everything is digital. And we talked earlier about the volunteer aspect, how these folks aren't getting paid. So, really having patience, perseverance, and understanding of this process. That really, just drop your app and, a couple of days have gone by. If you haven't heard anything, go ahead and reach out to that rescue. But understand that we as the Dr. Corgi volunteers and or folks like yourself, when you talked about sharing posts too for us, we love that. And a lot of times folks think that that person, belongs to that dog, and that's not the case. So being very diligent about your process and reading the details, that will really help you just get where you're going faster. Be kind. We talked about that. It's kind of part of our motto. We have a very strict policy on that. If I see any sort of negativity or people calling people out, I'll remove the comment. Kind of a 3 strikes you're out is how we work with things.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Right. And that's what I was just going to say. It's like, we don't really tell folks that, but it's like, we have a log and we can see if your name has been, removed 3 comments already. Really just be nice. It's not that hard. Always reach out to the shelter. If at the end of the day, you do have questions for us, always ask. But I just want to state that asking us if, they're available and stuff sometimes for folks and user, accessibility. I just want to help you get what you're looking for quicker, and not be by reaching out to the rescue.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, and to your point, I think anyone asking, sometimes I'm sure they ask the in search of is just maybe they don't know where to start too. But
Yes.
I can imagine that is just too much of a funnel to try to manage with everything that you're trying to get out. You're essentially a vehicle for getting the information out there. That you're making sure
Yes,
that you're
ma'am.
casting a wide net, and that everybody knows that. So it's I'm sure part of that is just in search of, is this, it sounds like everything's very user friendly, that if
It is.
if people are to follow your page, if you just poke around a little bit, read some of the posts, read some of the how to's, it sounds like it's laid out very well
It
for
is.
to be able. And I've been on it several times. I mean, I've had, I'm not technologically adept,
Yes.
and I found it to be very user friendly.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
My crash course was handing it to my husband's parents. I said, kind of, let's see how you can work with this. And, they had no problems. So
I love your
really,
quality assurance there.
that's what I mean. I'm like, if they can figure it out, come on, guys.
You've QA'd it. You've QA'd it. QC'd it. QA'd it.
Trying to do my best.
Yeah, I love it. So, do you have advice for those who are wanting to adopt corgis or corgi mixes?
Yes. So we kind of talked about how, reaching out, right? So I'm not going to double back over those tips, but, kind of keep those in the mix. Patience is key. While being
Absolutely.
while being adamant, right? At the same time, understanding that, you're working with volunteers, and also in the times of COVID, right? So, corgis, sometimes what I'll see is a shelter will get a corgi in, and they'll be like inundated with emails. And they're not used to that. And so, what I tell folks is just be patient with them, and also be concise. Sometimes you'll see in a rehoming instance, this isn't so much as in a rescue or adoption, because you're putting that dog's name on your application that you're inquiring about.
And those
Uh,
are usually a little bit more organized, and when you
yes,
have, usually have an organization that has a process and a due process of all of that going through, whereas rehoming is,
just
yeah,
right.
it's, yeah.
And so, when you ask a rescue, kind of to touch on what you just said, there's a process, right? So if you're emailing a rescue without having submitted an application to ask them if a dog's available, again, kind of go with their process, because it's there. For rehoming, what I'll see is folks are just very vague, how much, or it's like, when you're reaching out, the best advice I could give for folks is, kind of have an itemized idea of your questions and ask them in order of importance. I understand price is a big thing, right? So do those in a direct message, instead of the thread of the actual post. I know that adopting also, reviewing all of the information. That was kind of my bullet point. I don't want to miss this one, is a lot of times what I'll see is folks won't read, not good with other dogs or not good with a kid, and they've applied. And really, at that point, they're wasting everybody's time. That information was stated there. So I really could not stress that enough, is to review all of the information that is presently available to you before you reach out, inquire, apply, etc. Remember that when you're entering into this process also, if you're wanting to adopt a dog who needs a second chance, their process of adjustment, kind of to jump ahead for I know what's coming next, we'll talk about, is a 3 to 6 month period of adjustment. So
There's that patience again.
again, I was just going to say, while you're being patient in trying to get them home, this is just the beginning of your patience. You know what I mean? You're exercising something that you're going to be patient for the next year and a half or year. And so, really, just slowing yourself down and just really taking the time. This is an important process.
Yeah, it is. And to your point, I think it's very important I feel like it's very important to ask if you're wanting to adopt, to ask, I think the most important question, of course, price, region, those are very, very important, because you need to know, can you get the dog to you? Are you able to get them? And do you have that budget?
Mm-hmm.
But more so, ask why they're rehoming.
Mm-hmm.
Because if maybe the dog has some aggression issues and is going to need some special training, you want to be sure that you're up to that challenge. And that's one of those things about rescuing. Rescuing is the loving choice. And again, we're very pro rescue here at Corgi Town USA, but you want to be sure that you're up to that challenge. And I don't shame anybody for saying,
No.
I'm sorry, this dog is just too much, but
Yep.
you want to be able to know that you're up for a challenge like that. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have like small children in the home or other
Yes.
animals, you could be compromising their situation, and
Mm-hmm.
you could be compromising your sanity, which is not
Yes.
going to be good for you or the animals. So those
No.
questions as to why is this animal's being rehomed
Mm-hmm.
may sound aggressive or overly inquisitive, but it's a very important question to
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
for both the new potential owner and the animal as well, I think.
No, and I think I'm so glad you stated that, because I mean, I see it so often where, we'll see that there's an aggression or something with a fellow housemate, right? And so in the advising of the post, the current owner will say, we'll do best as an only dog. And I'll see folks reaching out, what do you think if would be with this dog? And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like
Yeah.
they're rehoming for X. So you're exempt if you have another dog. Just keep scrolling. And I'm so glad you said that, because I have seen situations where folks just, I don't know whether they thought or saw a change that they could take an opportunity for. But I agree with you on that. So important to ask yourself those questions ahead of time before compromising anyone's sanity or lifestyle.
And obsessive corgi disorder is real, obviously. I've
Yeah.
I've had I've had 6. I've had
Yeah.
4 at once. I've had 6 over the years, 4 at once, and that's you do want more, and that is an
Yes.
important thing. And I find that sometimes those are the ones that are hard to adopt out when they do
Mm-hmm.
have to be an only dog in the home, and why it's so important to try and train to be socialized properly and learn the hierarchy of the pack as
Yes.
early as you possibly can, so that if something happens, heaven forbid, that you can't keep your companion, that they've been trained that they can find themselves incorporated into a pack if they need to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's to me, that those seem to be the ones that are hard to home, because many people who want to adopt a corgi have other corgis.
More. Exactly. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So can you tell I've done this a few times? I've been through this
Yeah.
rescue process. So, well, thank you so much for breaking that down. It's so helpful. And so, to that point, can you offer some suggestions to those who have recently adopted or rescued?
So branching off, we talked about the 3 to 6 month period and the
Patience.
patience. So what I see most often is people kind of panic the first couple days, and so what I always tell folks is just let your new family member acclimate at their pace, right? And I guess kind of to dissect that down is I have heard of situations where corgi mix prefers one room per day. They wouldn't want to explore further into the house, until they had that day to acclimate. kind of taking the surroundings, and then they were ready to venture on. However, we'll have, the opposite where they want to explore the whole house within the first hour. So really just patience again. I think that that's going to be the biggest consistent here is patience and taking yourself out of it. You know, you've just brought home your new family member where everything to them is now unfamiliar, even you. And although you love them and you want to give them the best life ever, they might not know that just yet. So I think another thing I see is people want to kind of not smother, but really, really coddle. And I think that that's another thing that can be, maybe a little overdone. It's kind of just giving them some time to acclimate to you as well.
Find the balance as quickly as you can, and yeah.
Balance. That is a good word, is balance, because I think that that's so important. And if you overstimulate, things could go, ping pong, and you don't want to do that with a dog who has recently come into a whole new circumstance. So that's kind of my just off the tip of the iceberg. Depending on the family member that you've just brought into your home, they might need some various training. Maybe they've never been on a leash before. Maybe they've never worn a collar. Maybe they don't know, potty training. And so socialization, those various types of fundamental training might have been missed. And then it becomes your duty to kind of jump in and not necessarily do it in an expedited fashion, but understand that you're going to have to take these things in order. So kind of just another thing, in preparation is knowing what you need to assess and kind of just take it in stride. You bring your new family member home, you're not going to be able to accomplish everything on your to-do list
Right.
right away, and your goals might get pushed back by things. And again, patience, balance. I think I'm going to go with your balance word. I really want to add that in now. It's just,
Yeah.
it's very nice. So I think wholesomely is just slow down, patience, balance, and really watching body language. I see folks oftentimes will bring, when they talk to me and give me feedback and response, they're not necessarily looking for body language. And that's something that I think you can say after owning so many corgis, that they give us and show us so many body language cues. And for us to observe those, that's just putting us ahead of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And that's sometimes it's easy to have that be miscommunicated or misunderstand
Mhm.
what they mean. Like if they're avoiding you, it doesn't necessarily mean they don't like you. Sometimes they're shy
Right.
and it's very scary for them. And I think
Mhm.
just like any new situation, be it a marriage or a new
Amen.
roommate
Mhm.
or anything it's very easy to get swept up in the
Yep.
excitement and the newness and all
Yep.
the fun of, wow, what an amazing, I
Mhm.
have a new companion now and they're so cute and they have such a great personality and this is so fun. And it's easy to get swept up in that, but
Yes.
there's the balance to remind, okay, yes,
Mhm.
this is great, it's wonderful, I'm so over the moon happy, but I also want to make sure that I'm doing right by the animal and giving them the tools that they need to flourish here as well, and then I'm also giving them spaces if they need it, and time, patience, and just let them kind of acclimate. And it's also easy to get sort of scared by certain things. If the
Yes.
dog's very excitable, they may be more so that that might not necessarily be their personality yet. Give
Mhm.
them some time to kind of calm down. They may be excitable because that's how they're
Right.
dealing with a new situation. And actually, Digby, when I first got him, that's our little corgi that lives with Cat now.
Mhm.
When I first got him, he bit me twice when I got him, and corgis love me, so my first and I love corgis, so my first response was to just get offended, like, "What did I
Yep.
do? Why did he bite me? My heart's completely broken." But I realized, I just have to give him space. He's scared.
Mhm.
He's not trying to hurt me. He's
Yeah.
just this is all new for him, and what had happened was I was getting him home, and I needed to get him down out of the car, and I didn't want him to jump and hurt himself.
Yeah.
So, I'm used to just scooping the corgis up, and I know I have to be gentle with him because he's new and kinda let him
Mhm.
come to me. And so by the time he comes to me, I pick him up and he go nip, and I'm like, "Oh, you
Oh.
bit me," so I have my little breakdown, like, "Okay, it's just because he's scared."
Yeah.
But then I also had to remind him, again, that's the balance.
Yep.
Yes, I'm heartbroken, but also that's a no-no here, we don't bite.
Mhm.
But I didn't wanna come down too hard on him because it is new and he is scared. So
Yes.
I said I looked at him, I said, "You get 1. You get 1." And so I finally got him at home, and I think it was that same day. I was trying to help show him where the door was, show him where the water was, and how to kind of integrate into the pack. And he got along with everyone, which was great. But I tried to get him back in. I'm, come on, it's time to go inside. We're gonna go to bed now. So I get go to get him, and I just gently, just kind of pull. You don't drag him, but you just
Yeah.
gently pull. Come on, we're going in here to guide him. And he turned around and bit me again.
Oh
And I
no.
said, "That's your last one, and you
Two.
don't do that." Yeah,
Yeah.
so I had to get a little bit again, I'm
Hmm.
all about positive reinforcement. We've
Yes,
kinda
ma'am.
learned over the years, just still be alpha, definitely establish yourself as alpha, but positive reinforcement.
Yes.
We're here to teach, not punish.
Exactly.
So, and there's that fine line. You have to be
Hmm.
firm and have those very strong words and raise your volume a little bit, but don't scare them because you don't
Right.
want to break that trust, but let
Agree.
them know this is, and he didn't do it again. And sometimes again, it's easy to get swept up in
Yeah.
the newness and the excitement and the love, but there's also the balance that you have to apply and just
Yes.
kind of, it's that perspective, right? Seeing things from the
Yes.
other perspective, which is
So,
something we learned from corgis,
oh,
I think.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So, what are some? Can you give us a couple questions maybe that you're commonly asked?
So as far as questions, so why not Craigslist, right? And the reason is, just there's puppy mill people, bad people, Amish, people who might be looking to hurt dog. We talked about that earlier. So just Craigslist, no. Um, as far as just like another one that I'm just gonna go ahead and say it is, why do about our group specifically? So why do we allow breeder retirees? I believe that these breeder retirees, they deserve a home just as much as any other. Um, you know, some breeders, well, I have found in my experience, they don't have as much of a network for folks looking for an older dog. They're looking for puppies, right? So, in that instance, I foresee no sort of a disqualification there. I want those dogs to have the same opportunity, at finding a great home. And, the next question, just kind of to go off that, is why do breeders retire? And it's just as any other job. You work and then you retire. You don't work until, you're the end of your days. So it's part of the process.
And a responsible breeder will retire
Yes, ma'am.
theirs.
I
You
was just
don't
going to
you
say
don't
it's a
want
good
them.
thing.
Yeah, you don't want them going past a certain age with it. Yeah, it's a
And
lot of work breeding from
I
the
do want
animal
to
and
say
the breeder.
too, yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I just wanted to say that I do get asked those couple questions. So just that little tidbit. Why do we allow double males? In this instance, I've seen folks, they don't want to see those sort of opportunities having exposure. And at the end of the day, again, every dog deserves a loving home. It's not their fault that an irresponsible breeding took place and that was the result. I do believe that corgi mix, they deserve a loving home, so they
Of
will
course.
always have exposure. On Adopt a Corgi Club, I've taken a lot of feedback from that over the past year, and that's okay. What is backyard breeding? Um, in short, just someone who decides to breed without adequate experience or testing. Their focus is surrounding a profit, and not, breed preservation and all the other things that you see with breeding. And why I get that question is because of the next question. Why do so many puppies not go back to breeders? We will see puppies, with folks coming to us needing to rehome a puppy that is 6 months old. And, people are all over the post. Why are they not going back to the breeder? People get so upset. And what I want to say to you right now is the question we talked about before: what is backyard breeding? That is the result. We are having, what I've seen just in my year of doing this is there's been an uptick in backyard breeding. Um,
Oh, it
it's so
breaks my
sad.
heart.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't want to get too much off on a tangent because I know the time is of the essence.
Well,
But
we can have you on again in the future. We actually have a whole segment that we're doing on what makes a responsible breeder and why you need to do these tests. And again, we don't want to be loyal to any one or two breeders,
yes,
but we do want to direct people to the right
exactly.
resources. And we actually have one of our episodes coming up shortly here is an expert on degenerative myelopathy.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yes.
that's a huge one with corgis, and I highly encourage anyone. I believe it's in 2 weeks, and I'll post about it. But that episode will be airing soon,
Mhm.
and that is. there's a wealth of information in that episode about degenerative myelopathy, why you want to pay attention if you're
Yes.
getting a corgi, and with rescues too, especially because
Hmm.
we don't know their background.
We don't.
If you get a responsible breeder, and even some of the breeders that are considered
Hmm.
responsible, don't think it's as big of a deal, because just because they're carriers of
Yes.
DM doesn't necessarily guarantee they'll get it. And you
Hmm.
talk about being going off on a tangent, I am too, but
Yeah.
that's just
No.
one example of the health of the breed that's important. But there are some staggering statistics that I even learned talking to our expert, and it was 53% of the Pembroke breed carries the gene,
Wow.
and that to me is terrifying. I had no idea it was that high. It's not as prevalent in cardigans, but again, we'll have you back on. We'll talk about.
Yeah.
I want to bring on a few guests about the what makes a responsible breeder, what you want to
Mhm.
look for, and there are other resources as well. There's a Facebook page. It used to be called Corgi Buyers Beware. I think they've changed the name of it, but
Yeah.
it kind of they out scammers and things, people that
Hmm.
just rip, yeah, they'll rip pictures off of other breeders' pages and try to pass them off on their own and just do all kinds of things. And
Yes.
so, but not just that, but also recommend where you look. A lot of people start with AKC. That's kind of just AKC just means a register. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that they've done
Yes, ma'am.
anything about, yeah. So we'll have you back on again on a holder segment so that we can
Yeah.
just go on off on that. But did I allow you the time to finish the
Oh
answering
my
your
gosh,
question?
yes, yes. I guess just, just to kind of end here, what I want to say is, if you're looking to rehome, if there's something that's holding you back, maybe you don't want to make the post yourself. I will always make a post for someone so that they can keep their identity, hidden, or not deal with hecklers. So if that's what's holding, someone back, please don't hesitate. Personal message me. I will definitely, take care of that in the vetting for you.
Thank you very much for doing that. And I want to tell Corgdom, anyone listening, and our viewers, our followers, and our listeners, yes, please be kind. Please have that perspective. Sometimes there is negligence, yes. Sometimes there is abuse, yes. Sometimes there's the lack of caring, yes. I mean, that's the constant. It's the world we live in. Things are not
Yeah.
rosy. We wouldn't be living on Earth. We'd be living somewhere else if things were perfect and people didn't do nasty things. But often, and probably more often than people would realize, it's just mistakes or circumstances. They're just all kinds of reasons why they need to be rehomed. And I actually salute anyone who makes that tough decision, because it is very hard. It is very emotional for the people that have to give up their companion animal. And I'm sure many of them feel a sense of failure and all of those things. The shame, there's really no reason for it. And it's kind of a waste of energy if we keep
Yes.
things positive. And how can we help? How can we find this animal a home? And how can we find the right companion and pair them up? And that's why these systems are here. And let's try not to waste our time and very valuable energy on things that are just going to drag us down and kind of waste everybody's time.
I agree with that
So
100%.
now I'll just step off my pulpit. Sounds like I got a little preachy there.
No, I love it. Honestly, like those are everything that needs to be said.
Well, so really quickly before we leave, tell us about your corgis, your little
um,
companions.
so I have two. One of them was by breeder. That's kind of how my corgi obsession started. Waylon is his name, and then my
Wayland.
second was my gal who I got through Craigslist rehoming. Her name is Piper. Um,
Piper.
I think that rehoming is just such a wonderful thing. Like you said, if that person has made that decision and you can be that intercepting side, it just gives you that feeling that you can't even explain.
Yeah. Well, and also too, for those considering the rehoming situations,
Mhm.
sometimes are to me those are better in a lot of ways, in that often you are finding an animal that is in better health. They've probably been loved and cared for and fed more so than actually rescue. My two girls that I've rescued were in very, very poor situations when I got them, and that was abuse and it was neglect in both situations. Now, Hammer was a different situation. He was a rehoming. Whatever happened in the gentleman's life, he used to have a
Mhm.
home and a yard, and he didn't have it anymore, and his lifestyle changed, and he did the right thing. He tried to
Mhm.
find a home, and it was hard for him. We kept in touch for a while. I think it got hard for him to stay in touch because he's that, I kind of need to extricate myself at a certain point. But that was one of those, and oftentimes it's not that, and then sometimes it is. But if you look at rehoming for those that are a little worried about any kind of medical maladies or background of the breed, often with rehoming, you're getting a loved animal that's well fed more so than straight up rescue from backyard. So those are some important things to consider, I think, because some people will have the patience like myself. Um, I haven't had to deal with DM yet.
Hmm.
I've been lucky enough I haven't, but both of my rescues that I still have are aging. And Booger, we're having all kinds of quote unquote old lady problems. That's what the vet called it. Quote unquote old lady problems with her. Just it's her
Yeah.
spine. She has arthritis and different
Yeah.
things. But they're both 10. And so we think. And
Hmm.
so it's I don't know. So far, I'm lucky, but I would do everything I could to keep them comfortable and let them
Yes.
enjoy the rest of their days. But that is not for everyone.
No.
And if you don't have the financial resources or the patience or even just the emotional resolve, then rehoming is a loving choice. So I mean, there's just so much perspective. It's a very pragmatic situation. It's not
That's a good
black
word.
and yeah, it's not black and white. There are so many things to be considered and, if we keep it positive and loving and what's gonna be best for everybody, the animal and the
Yes.
person bringing them home, then so,
Yes.
long-winded Candy, you say, "Don't let me go too long and then listen to me." I'm like, "I'm gonna have a podcast. They'll give me a microphone and
Oh
I'll
my
just
gosh, I
keep
love it
talking."
though. I think you're great.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. We'd love to have you on again, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as well. And what would I think would be great? We're actually going to do a segment on rescue stories.
Okay.
So I want to have some guests on that tell us your rescue story. So I want to do a segment about that, but also. Maybe what we can do is if you have some in the future that maybe are for whatever reason is taking a while to rehome them or find homes, maybe we could do some features where
Oh
you
my
can
gosh, yeah.
yeah, kinda and then anybody watching, listening, and we give them the resources and direct them to your page, so
How fun. I love that.
yeah,
Yes.
I would
Anyone
love to
who's
do that.
been in there long needs a chance.
Yeah, so and we ran long tonight, so thank you anyone watching, listening for sticking with us tonight, but this is a very important subject that's close to our hearts, and we're so thankful to Emily and her team for what they do. Please go to Facebook, follow Adopt a Corgi if you are interested in adopting. Or if you know anyone who it happens to ask you that they want a corgi, that's a great place to start. You can follow even if there's not adoption in your immediate future. You can find available rescues in your area to recommend to people who ask you when they want a corgi. So, yeah. So, Emily, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
tonight. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, you too. Everybody take care.
Thank you. So, again, thanks everyone for sticking with us tonight on the long episode, but we appreciate it so much and we highly recommend rescue if you can. Please go to Adopt a Corgi. I am going to sign off tonight here. We are with you every Thursday on All Things Corgi. We talk about the health of the breed, we talk about traveling with your Corgi, about the lifestyle, and just a general resource of all things Corgi. So, thank you for joining us. I'm Candy from Corgi Town USA. Follow us on Instagram, Corgi_Town_USA, or follow us on Facebook, Corgi Town USA. We also have a website, www.corgitownusa.com. I'm Candy. This is Chuckles signing off on Corgi Town USA podcast. Have a great night, everybody.